for LAUSD. While LAUSD wouldn't say whether the sex offenders were on any of its campuses, at times students were there too. Officials say the district's policy requires that only the supervisor of a contractor work crew get a background check and get fingerprinted before coming on campus. However, it's often left to the contractor to determine what kind of background check, if any, is done on the workers. And that's where there may be a hole in the system, especially if nobody's doing anything to validate the thoroughness of the background checks being done by the outside contractors. For instance, the owner of Barron Services, the company that James Spry and Stephen English worked for, told me he knew that they were convicted felons and that they were on parole. But he said he didn't know that they were sex offenders. He said he just assumed it was okay for them to work on school campuses since he believed their parole officers had to sign off and approve any job they were hired for. In a statement, Barron's owner, who is out of state, said, "Had I been informed by anyone of the nature of the offenses some of the parolees I hired had committed, they would have never gone anywhere near any project I was working on where children were present." We went to the Pomona home of James Spry to talk to him about all of this. Is that a violation of your parole to be on campus?
No, I worked on schools that were being built. There were no children there. So,
according to the owner, there were children there at some of the sites when you guys were working.
not me.
You were never on a school site when there were children around? Are you still there? Sir, can we talk to you some more?
Go away.
We cannot talk to Stephen English because he is back in prison after violating his parole in a vandalism case. We did talk to state parole agents, and they tell us that they did approve that work at Barron Services because they say they spoke to the owner of Barron Services and told him about the sex offender status of Spry and English, and that the owner told them that they would only be working on new construction sites. That's an allegation that the owner of Barron Services strongly denies. He says no one from parole talked to him before he hired those two sex offenders. Now, coming up Sunday morning, we will have more on this. You'll hear from a state legislator who says laws regarding sex offenders on school campuses need to be tightened up. There'll also be another part of this story that may surprise you more than this one. Now, one more thing on this. Parole agents do tell us that if any of these sex offenders were on school properties while students were here, it would be a violation of their parole. Reporting live in El Monte, I'm Chip Yost. We'll send it back to you.
All right, Chip, thank you. We'll stay tuned for that. And well, it looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger's return to the big screen